response. I'm about to start my lecture on the Yukols at any moment. Please make haste to come.
Okay, I'll give it my best.
Excellent. We'll be in the main lecture hall. See you soon.
I don't have any words. I don't have any words for this. I don't know. Come on, go attend the goddamn lecture. Get moving. Get moving. Come on, Kate. Time's a-wasting. Time's a-wasting. I don't call her Kate Walker for nothing. Hey, she runs a little bit. Oh, jeez. Could they at least, like... Let me jump? Jump ahead. Run, Kate. Run. Become Kate Runner. And it is because of those... Oh, Domino's. What? They don't have Domino's in Canada. Liar. It's a Canadian version of Domino's. Jiminy Christmas. It is because of those awesome puns and awesome jokes in the chat room why I have to have the chat in the screen. So that when this goes up on the Dollarwise Gamers YouTube, people can see all of your cleverness. Where am I going? Oh, the lecture hall up here. Canadio's Pizza. Hey, Ma, can we have Canadios for dinner? Only if you're good, son. Only if you're good. If you attend the lecture on mammoths.
Ah, there you are, Miss Walker. Good, good. Take a seat quickly. I'm impatient to start my lesson.
I almost feel like he should say, take a seat quickly before they're all taken up by the person who's falling asleep and the person who is on drugs.
Oh my God.
She's like...
My young friends, a very exciting discovery, unimaginable up until only a few hours ago, has come into my hands and has finally allowed me to complete my study on the mysterious Yukol people. Lights, please.
Lights!
The Yukols are a people from the far north about whom very little is known. They live far away, very far away, on the frozen borders of Syberia. This distance and the climatic conditions of the region, which are unfavorable to human existence, have limited the size of the Yukol population and kept it out of reach of the scientific world. The handful of slides that follow are actually the only documentation we have in our possession. It was a Russian explorer who made these drawings and took these photographs 100 or so years ago. Today, we owe what we know about the Yukol people and their culture to him. We know that the origins of the Yukols date back to the last Ice Age. Curiously, evidence of their presence has been found in Western Europe, and more precisely in the prehistoric caves at the heart of the Alps. This people, it seems, undertook a long migration over centuries towards the far north of the globe. The reasons for this migration are due to the importance of the mammoth in their craft, trade, and culture. They used them for transportation and as beasts of burden. The mammoth brought them meat, skins, fat, and ivory. Man and animal lived in symbiosis. There's no doubt about it. Mammoths started to drift away from the region due to changing climatic conditions, and the Yukols followed them to the north, to the edges of Syberia. Prehistoric cave drawings, identified as Yukol in origin, first led me to the extraordinary hypothesis that the Yukols had managed to domesticate the mammoth. They are, to the best of our knowledge, the only prehistoric people to represent a man riding a mammoth. Today, because of this genuine mammoth skin effigy, identified by myself as an authentic Neolithic object, I can confirm this hypothesis. Yukol forebears managed to tame mammoths. Prehistoric man uses little imagination. He draws what he sees and represents scenes from real life. This familiar day-to-day object is actually a children's toy. As we have seen, Yukol existence was inextricably linked to that of the mammoth. They used its skin for clothing and to make the roofs and walls of their houses. They used the tusks to build the frameworks of their homes, as well as weapons, tools, and jewelry. Curiously, the disappearance of the mammoth 12,000 years ago had no immediate effect on the Yukol's way of life. It seemed that for a long time after, the people maintained their strong bond with the mammoth through the centuries. As incredible as it may seem, the Yukol people have continued right up until the start of this century to feed themselves on mammoth meat and to use the skin for clothing and shelter. Their ivory craftwork industry is still flourishing. It would appear that to preserve ancestral customs, the Yukols learned how to exploit through the centuries the large number of frozen mammoth carcasses that were perfectly preserved in the ice of the Siberian tundra. They have been able to live mainly off this enormous freezer stock for almost 30 centuries. As plausible as this explanation may seem, it seems it is not enough for the scientific community who, I will confess, is greatly perplexed by the question. In the absence of acceptable scientific evidence, we have to make
Somebody's
do with
yawning in the
Yukol
classroom.
shaman artifacts. The research department that I have the honor to represent today lends no credence to the myths and legends that these tribal charlatans peddle. We have to take their stories at face value, mere tales to while away the long Siberian winter. The legend of the Siberian ice ark is a very good example. You are invited to find out for yourselves from the pamphlet that I had passed around to you. This legend would have us believe today, somewhere on a lost island to the north of Syberia, there are living mammoths still in existence, a sort of hangover from the Ice Age. This small herd has been miraculously preserved for more than 120 centuries by the Yukol's tender care. And the island on which the pachyderms are said to live is called Syberia. My friends, I advise you to resist the temptation you may have to believe in this pish and tish. The island of Syberia is not charted on any map, and the idea that mammoths have survived to the 21st century is an idle scientist's pipe dream. The Yukols were sadly among the first victims of the colonization of continental Siberia led by the Russians in the 20th century. The Kolkhoz and Sovkhoz systems, as well as the exploitation...
We're in the middle of
disdain, and
exposition. I will
humiliation
be
that people had to
charged.
suffer, marked a definitive break in the Yukol's traditional lifestyle. Since the collapse of the communist regime, the Yukol population finds itself confronted with the same political and social upheavals that other Siberian communities are experiencing. There are two consequences to arise.
Everybody's
from
taking
this.
notes, right?
Some
'Cause I'm not
Yukols
taking
have
notes.
lost
Can I
their
borrow
tribal
somebody's
identity
notes?
and have integrated into the Russian population. Others, however, have sought long and hard to re-establish links with their ancestral culture that was lost under the Soviet regime. Now, at the start of the 21st century, the last true surviving Yukols have gone to live on the vast territories of their ancestors. Nobody knows today where they live or how they survived. Their very existence would be a matter for speculation if they did not turn up periodically at the tundra's most isolated fur trading posts to exchange mammoth tusks for essential items. There ends my lecture for today.
Oh, thank God.
Thank you for being among us today, Miss Walker. Please make
please
your way
don't
to
call
the
me out in
laboratory
front of
where
all
you
your
will find
stupid
your
students.
mammoth doll. There are also photocopies of my lectures should you so require them.
Everybody's like, I pay to go to this school? I just sat there and waited for everyone to leave. Alright, well, I'm gonna go check this door one more time. First of all, Baravet, hello? I think it's Baravet. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Hello? You came in the middle of a lecture, so I could not greet you. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. He gives you notes. Yeah, what a great professor. He gives us notes. So, yeah. And Exanter,
No point.
also,
It's
thank
locked.
you for the follow. I appreciate it. Yeah, I know. I was just thinking he was like somebody, he knew somebody who was making this game. Is like, can I be one of your characters? You can give me the longest part. This guy's still falling asleep. He's still asleep. And what's interesting is like the exposition, I didn't feel like there was that much exposition. It was almost like they could have done that differently, but you know, that's what we're dealing with. They just found an actual professor, like, I think I need to go get my mammoth from him. Excuse me, Professor, is that a mammoth in your pocket, or are you just a long-winded person who talks in a really long lecture and bores me a lot? What? You want me to stop talking? Can I have my mammoth back? And these my notes. So there's my mammoth. I gets me my mammoth. And I gets me my notes. And then I should just leave. Like, thank you. Thank you. Oh. Alright. The legend of the Ivory Ark. The last ice age ended when the planet warmed up. The sudden climactic change threatened the existence of many animal species, including mammoths inhabiting the far northern Siberian wastes. It is said that the Yukol peoples decided to follow Noah's example and built an enormous ark to try to preserve the mammoth's existence. They lived in symbiosis with the pachyderm, which was at the heart of their religious worship. The ship was constructed entirely of mammoth tusks. I'm sure that that's perfectly seaworthy vessel. A small herd of mammoths was installed on board with enormous quantities of fodder. Control of the ship was entrusted to a handful of particularly intrepid yokel clans. Their mission was to take the animals to other lands with pastures more befitting to their survival. One day, 50 summers later, as legend would have it, the Ark returned to its starting point. The yokels were astonished to find nobody aboard apart from the carcasses of several mammoths perfectly preserved in the ice encasing the ship. The clansmen believed this was a mysterious sign from the gods, and they ate the mammoths in a memorable feast. 1 week later, the Ark was set sail once more, carried away by the currents. Again it returned, half a century later, with not a soul on board except more well-preserved mammoth, frozen mammoth carcasses. Thanks for the coffee stain on the notes there, sir. This mystery continued for a millennia, each time with surprisingly well-preserved mammoths appearing out of nowhere. The yokels interpreted the phenomenon as a benevolent offering from their dead companions who were believed to have perished on the Ark's first voyage in some horrendous maritime cataclysm. I always believed that their souls had found eternal rest on a mythical island that the shaman named Syberia, which finally explains the spelling. They constructed a whole religion around this belief with rites and customs punctuated by the periodic appearances of the Phantom ship and its precious cargo, like cargo cults from World War II. For centuries, nothing changed the Ark's mysterious cycle, only the size of the mammoths changed, reducing imperceptibly over time until one day, 100 or so years later, the Ark returned earlier than expected. It was empty. The yokels were dumbfounded and utterly confused. The spirits of their ancestors had forsaken them. Everything they had believed in, that had been the bedrock of their culture since the very depths of time, had now lost all meaning. The most fanatical believers noted that the frequency of the appearances had in fact increased, and maintained that there was still hope as long as the Ark continued to return journeys from the unknown. Some elder yokels